Hey, what's going on, scholars? It's your professor here, Enlightened Enlisted, and now with around 50 games played for me in Stalingrad at a 96% win rate, I wanted to give you guys my thoughts about the campaign. Before we get into the contents of today's video, I want to apologize up front to you guys. I will be unable to do multiple gold weapon order review videos for this Battle Pass season. It seems that Darkflow thinks that I am too small of a content creator to be able to receive these as support. I have started a poll over on my community tab for which gold weapon order you would like to see me review, so go vote for that after this video because your vote does matter. But enough of my crybaby talk, let's get into this review. Alright, so I wanted to start this video off with some positive feedback, and the biggest plus to this update has got to be the weapon sounds. The KR98 feels like you have a hand cannon now, and the smoke at the end of the barrel after firing makes the immersion so much better as a player. I look back at old footage and I've compared it to the new sounds that we have, and holy hell, it's night and day. Being around people shooting automatic weapons like the MP40, you could actually hear the clack of the charging handle reciprocating back and forth, and it sounds amazing. The sound guy over at Darkflow deserves a raise for sure. Another big positive has got to be the medic class. A lot of people thought this guy was going to be worthless, but honestly, I think it's one of the most fun and interesting roles to play. I feel very useful as a medic, honestly, and the XP you get, oh my god. You don't have to just run around healing people, but when you take an objective, or if there's a lull in a gunfight, you can easily rack up around 150 XP just by hitting the F key. I will admit the medical crates are kind of hard to see, but this guy acts like I kind of expected it to, an assaulter with syringes. TNT or the Claymores of Enlisted, so I want to admit when I first read about this addition to the game, I was worried that it was going to be too OP, and hell, it was just going into a mine slot, and I assumed that it was going to be the same as the explosive pack, but thankfully they don't operate the same at all. So if you think you're going to yeet this bad boy like Uncle Rico, then you're in for a rude awakening. It's a super small and hard to see piece of explosive that is great for defending points or ambushing tanks, but that's about it. You can't really clear rooms with it because it just drops right in front of you. They are 100% better than the AT mine because you can run up and actually plant these bad boys on the tank. I would 100% suggest using these things. There's no downside to them whatsoever. Boys, our prayers have finally been answered. The AT guns are finally movable after a year of waiting for this feature to be initiated. As I have said, it has been a great joy to be able to build my AT gun behind a wall and cover and then roll it out to engage an enemy tank. Now, depending on how many members you have left in your squad will determine on how fast you move it, and you're going to need at least 2 people to move it, but it makes sure that these AT guns are actually a viable option for the engineer to build them. Another things the engineers can now do is build the Molotov flamethrower launcher thing, and it is a effective meme, I guess is the best way I would say it. It didn't really strike me as something that I would use personally, but if you are a pretty good player at figuring out how to noob tube things pretty far across the map, I could see you being very effective with this thing. Personally though, I would just stick with building an MG emplacement once you have Engineer 2s. Something else that has a lot of flames are the flame tanks, which were a staple in the trailer, but as Valdez predicted in the Enlisted podcast we did a few weeks ago, they are 100% worthless in my opinion. The reason for this is because the streets are wide open and you have these huge sight lines, which makes the flame tank easy pickings for actual tanks. Now, if you took this flame tank and put it in Berlin per se, I think it would be super effective. Honestly, I just found myself using the mounted MG more to kill infantry than the actual flames. And because you have those flames, I feel like players feel like they have to rush in with it, and that tends to get them killed by the explosive pack anyhow. There are some negatives to this campaign, no doubt, and one of the biggest ones has to be for me are the maps. They're just meh. I like them a lot better than Normandy levels, maybe even Moscow levels, but there's nothing special about the Stalingrad feel. When I play it, I feel like I'm somewhere in the suburbs of a small town versus being in a hellhole of urban combat that was Stalingrad historically. Sure, Stalingrad was more open than say like Berlin in 1945, but there's nothing like Pavlov's house, the grain elevator, or even the tractor factory for me to fight over. The only area that I really have any kind of semblance of recognition to is the rail station, and that's just because of my time playing Red Orchestra 2. What I do like about the Stalingrad maps are the wide open roads for tanks to be able to move freely, and the intercom system that is having that Russian voice make that immersion something for me. I also got to give kudos to how well the gray zone is done in Stalingrad as well. I feel like I can pretty much go anywhere and that I'm not at a disadvantage. Plus you have verticality in this campaign, which is something we haven't seen since Tunisia. One of the worst features that I've ever seen added to Enlisted has got to be the LMG and the AT stamina nerf. Oh my god, is it so annoying. If you have no clue what I'm talking about, well, basically your stamina is affected by you being able to ADS, and your stamina is also affected when you ADS with heavy weapons such as the AT gun or LMGs. Now there is no running to a spot, setting up your LMG and shooting from the crouch position or the standing position. You basically have to go prone because your stamina will be completely depleted and you won't be able to ADS. The only way to combat this is to either, as I said before, go prone or brace, which we know that the brace system in Enlisted is completely broken and super hard for the player base, so now you have a class that you pretty much don't want to use in Stalingrad at all. I think this nerf disproportionately hurts the AT bomber guy more than anything else, because now you're not going to be able to ADS with your AT rifle from a vertical position and shoot down on the tank because your stamina is going to deplete so quickly. If there was one thing that they could change back to the old system, this would be it for me. I also find it completely hilarious that they talked about how they wanted to make things more realistic with their movement, and they just basically forced the entire player base that wants to use an MG or an AT gun to become drop shotters. Do you like feeling completely drunk when you play a video game? Well, never fear, because now they've buffed concussion, so basically you feel like you're walking around with a 3-year hangover, not being able to see or hear anything, and God help you if you're trying to get a bolt action shot. It was actually super hard for me just to get footage for you guys to look at that wasn't blurry or anything like that because of the concussion. If you want to make it where people cannot be aggressive or play this game effectively, this is the best way to run their experience. Now, something that I do think should cause a lot of concussion and a lot of disorientation are the airstrike call-ins. I've been using them pretty effectively throughout the entire campaign, and I have to say they're pretty awesome. However, they're super hard to shoot down, so they need to really take down the plane damage model so you can shoot those things down a lot easier. Also, I really want them to make it where I can rotate how the bombing run comes in, because right now it just seems like I put a bunch of circles on the map. I don't really have a control of where I can drop those bombs. Let's talk about weapons overall. Now, the weapons in this campaign can be found in every other campaign, basically. There are a few exceptions, obviously, but for the most part, they're in all the other campaigns. Are they balanced between each faction? I would say yes. However, I don't think they are balanced between the free-to-play player and the paid player. The fact that a lot of good stuff is behind a paywall makes this campaign pretty much a pay-to-win. I've said it before and I will say it again, if you are a free-to-play player, I would not recommend this campaign at all for you. If I wasn't a content creator, I would not have paid $30 to get into this campaign by any means of the imagination, and I understand why a lot of the player base are boycotting this campaign overall. There's been a lot of pushback because of the microtransactions that have found their way into this campaign with customizations, because good lord, those things are super expensive. It's like 120 gold for you to change your character's hands. For God's sakes, Darkflow, what are you thinking? I mean, KO Fox has even come out and apologized for the poor wording of their dev blog release when it talked about microtransactions, and this just shows how pissed off the player base actually is. Now, the customization part is a little bit interesting for me. Me as a historian, I like everything to look very historically accurate, but if you're a player that just wants to play the game and you don't really care about that, not being able to customize your character does kind of suck. But honestly, if you want historical immersion in gameplay, I would suggest you play Hell Let Loose over Enlisted any day of the week. Another huge fail has got to be the terrible launch that has happened for this campaign for the console players. I mean, it's completely broken the game if you have a PS4 or an Xbox. If any of you guys are watching this video and you're having bugs, please put them down in the comments below. I will be sure to pass them on to the production team over on the CC Discord. I don't know if they'll actually read it, but at least you can get your voice heard. Overall, I think Stalingrad isn't worth paying into or even playing. All the weapons you can find in other campaigns, and the maps aren't as good as Berlin in my opinion. The rapid progression is nice, but it 100% makes it pay to win. If I had to rate this campaign on a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably put it at a 7. But what do you guys think about Stalingrad? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're down there, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. If you aren't a member of our Discord, be sure to check that out as well. That link is down in the comment below. As always, scholars, hit those books and hit those bottles. Cheers.